Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Santa's Christmas Countdown. What better way to count down the days than with a little traditional countdown featuring Santa's face, and then we have little blocks that we're going to create so that every day you just flip the blocks around, and this is going to be great for the living room or even a child's room. I already promised Gabby that I would give it to her. So first things first here, what we want to make sure to do is we're going to actually assemble just these four pieces first so that everything is nice and stiff. We're going to put this underneath the mat and let it dry completely flat. And that last layer, we're actually going to go a little bit heavier on the glue so that it dries nice and hard for us, okay? We want to kind of let the glue turn into almost like a thick, just a thick plastic layer, so to speak. Anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to begin by taking this, you can see we've done this in a white glitter. That's going to go on top of this layer here, okay? And we need to apply glue to this layer so that we don't get glue in places where we don't need it. Okay, and now this layer here, since we're using glitter, I'm assuming that you probably will too. You can go a little bit heavier. The backs of these glitter papers are usually pretty smooth, not very porous, and sometimes they do need a little extra glue to really stick. So I'm going to be a little more generous with the glue here. And you can see here, I created some little rosy cheeks before I actually put this down so that it blends better. I took, let me see if I can find it here. Yep. One of these little guys, and just very gently added some little rosy cheeks there. It's very subtle. I'm also going to use a brayer here to make sure that everything goes down nice and flat. Okay. The little features on his face, the eyes and his eyebrows, we're going to do that later because I really want this to dry super flat. Okay. So next we're going to put this layer on, and this is kind of the backing layer. It's still visible. This is going to be an extra layer just for extra dimension. All right. On this layer here, we want to put the glue on this section so that we know exactly where to put the glue. So we'll get this one in place, and then I'm going to do the back layer, and I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the glue on that and actually use a brush to brush that out nice and even. Okay. So let's get this lined up. Just match it up as accurately as you can with that shadow layer. There we go. Press that down. If you have a brayer, definitely use that. Helps spread that glue out. Okay, and I'll flip it over. And this is where we're going to go heavier with the glue. And like I said, I'm going to use a little foam brush to really spread this glue out. As you can see, I'm really laying it on extra thick. Okay. I'm just going to spread this out, especially up at the top here. I want that to be nice and thick. Okay, let's line that up. And then the second we get it lined up, I'm taking this thing and I'm putting it right under my mat, preferably with a little extra weight pushing down on it. There we go. Okay, nice and thick. Press that down, and then I'm going to go over to the other side of my studio here and put this on another mat, under another mat I should say, and throw some weight on it. God, that's heavy. I got all this paper here. Put that right on there. Let that dry nice and flat. Okay. Like I said, we'll put his facial features on a little bit later. So I'll put those off to the side. And in the meantime, what we can begin doing is assembling our little blocks. Normally I would do this flat, but I want to actually ink this to make it look a little bit distressed, and I need to do that while it's actually put together. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to start over here on this side. Let me clean off my nozzle. And we'll begin applying glue to just this one tab here. Okay. And then just tuck that in, line it up, and press that down. Try to go easy on the glue here so it doesn't go squirting out. Okay, just like that. Then we'll go over to the other side and get this section in place. It's a relatively quick project. There's a few little details that are sort of repetitive. It's mostly on the block, but it's a fun one. Okay. I'll get those two sides together. I'm going to tuck this in. We're going to have to probably use our little painting method. Okay, go ahead and apply glue to this tab. Nice and easy. You don't want to overdo it. Spread that glue out. There we go. And keep this tab in while we bring this one in and line it up. Just like that. Line that up as accurately as you can. Just rub off any excess glue that might have squirted out. Okay, here's where I'm going to grab my little tray of scrap paper. I'm going to start using this here. Okay, I'm going to take and apply a little bit of glue to a piece of scrap like this, and then I can literally just take and paint that glue right to the underside of where this tab is going. Just like that. And we'll take this tab, tuck it in, make sure it's all the way in. Got a little bit of it kind of clinging on over there. There we go. And line it up and press it into place. Rub off any excess. You can also just put that down on your surface. Give that one additional little press. Now, one other thing too, if you want to weigh this down, now's the time to put something in there, okay, to kind of weigh it down a little bit. And we're going to close this up here. We're going to paint okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on this tab here. We're going to close this up, and then we're going to paint a little bit of glue on the remaining tabs and just kind of finesse those into place. You really just want to make sure that you get enough there on the edge, and just keep kind of pressing down right along that edge there. Okay, so now you see there's little gaps there, but that's okay. Give that a second. Grab your scrap piece and just tuck it right in there. There's nothing on the bottom, so you could literally rub it on the surface there and not have to worry about it blemishing the surface because there's nothing on the bottom. There we go. And then just press that into place and hold it. Just keep holding. And then while you're holding that, maybe wait. I'm pretty good at doing this where I can hold something and then apply glue to these. We'll do the same thing, just tuck that right in there. Rub it on the underside. I usually just get rid of those so I don't accidentally, and then just press that down and hold. And now we have a perfect little cube. Okay. And just keep holding that. So you're going to repeat that same process on this, on the other cube here. And I noticed on this one here, it didn't quite sit completely flush. So I'll just touch that up with a little extra glue there and hold it down. I want it to look as 3D printed as possible, so to speak. Okay, now again, the reason I wanted to do this was because when it comes to inking something like this that's dimensional, I would much rather do it while the item is together. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with a little bit of this rhubarb stalk color. This is All American Red as far as the cardstock goes, and I'm gonna start applying it and see if it's giving me the look that I want. And I think it's working okay. If you have a darker red and it's really not showing up very well, you can go with a purple. Okay, the purple will really, it's gonna be a lot darker, obviously, but if that's the desired look, then you're good to go. Okay, and I don't know that I'm getting the desired look without probably having to apply layer after layer after layer. So I may, I'll give it a second here, I'm not quite sure yet. Yeah, you know what, that's not too bad, but it's just not doing it for me. So I'm gonna grab a purple, and I'm not gonna apply as much glue, or I'm sorry, as much ink. I'll go a little bit easier, but you'll notice that I have to do way less work to really get that to show up when using purple. And actually that ink pad might be on its last leg, so I do kind of have to push down harder. So if you have a fresh ink, you'll notice that when you dab it, that thing saturates like crazy. Now I'm really pushing real hard and barely getting any on my felt applicator, so I do need to push down harder to get the desired look. And now I'm definitely a lot happier with that. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it as much on camera, but I can see it here. I don't want to overdo it. I just want to make it look like it's been weathered a little bit. It's been used and it's not so, you know, so immaculate and clean. Okay, so I'm gonna go around and do this to my entire cube, and then we'll put the other one together so that you don't have to rewind. But yeah, so there's a lot of sides to this, obviously. So it's gonna take a little bit of time if you want to, you know, distress this. That's okay, it'll be worth it. But anyway, we're trying to get this product out here. I've got Peyton's first birthday this weekend. I've got a ton of people coming to the house and trying to get my work done. I still have to make a slideshow for him. It'll be fun. It'll be fun separating or celebrating his first birthday with everybody. My mom came into town from Ohio. She's a big dreamer too. I don't think she's been crafting as much lately, but still show her all the stuff we're working on and occasionally get her opinion on things. So yeah, see, I like that. I like how that looks. You see what I mean? It's kind of, it's got that little dark edge sort of look. You know, we looked at some of these online, and some of the blocks I noticed they, you know, had a little bit of distressing on them. I really like that look. It just makes it look really authentic, especially since we're using like a wood grain for the base. You want this to blend in with your decor nicely. Now, you could always use a pattern paper instead of a wood grain. That's fine too. And make it yours. Make it however you want to make it. I just know what works for me as far as my decor in my home. And I wanted it to kind of blend, if you know what I mean. I'm kind of losing track of which sides I've done and which sides I haven't. But essentially with the inking, there's a few different ways of doing it. Now, as I mentioned on Santa's face, this little brush is really good for a very subtle inking. I guess it depends on, again, how much ink you put on the actual brush that will determine how thick the application is. But I've noticed that almost doesn't really matter how much I put on there. It never seems to go on very thick and very deep. Okay, so I really wanted this to look very pronounced, and I knew that I was going to have to do this with my fingers. And I'm just essentially just grazing the surface while mostly concentrating on the very edges. Okay. So we're going to do that with both of these. And then we've got some panels for the numbers to put on. And obviously we need to do that strategically so that we get all, you can count down from 31, but I think most of us count down from 25. So this will, as long as you get this done, you'll have plenty of time to use it to its maximum potential. Okay. So anyway, you get the idea here. I might save the inking on the other one for a separate, or I'll do it off camera, I should say. That way you don't have to sit here and watch me ink 12 sides of a cube. But let's see here, I'm actually not being too stingy with the ink because I really do like that look of it being sort of, yeah, you can see what I mean. That looks really cool. Okay, and we'll do it the same way because it seemed to have worked fine last time. We'll start on the side here that has just the one section. Okay, we'll tuck that in, line it up, and press. Make sure you're not getting glue on your fingers. And a lot of you are like, I don't know how Leo doesn't get glue all over his fingers. Well, you know, it's hard to get glue on your fingers when you don't use a lot of glue to begin with. And I think that's really the secret. Just making sure that you're very sparse with the glue. And then of course, I've got a little, what's it called? A little sponge under my desk that I swap out every time I do a shoot. It's slightly damp, not really, maybe a little bit. I just wipe my finger off on that. And when I'm done, bring it in, run it through the dishwasher. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's very simple to swap out. It keeps your fingers nice and clean. There we go. Keep that glue off of the adjacent surface. Make sure that this tab here is going in. Both of them going in, I should say. Get that glue off your fingers. Line that up as accurately as possible. There we go. And of course, that one popped out. It's okay. All right, so with this, again, I'm going to use my little gluing technique here. And I'm going to put glue right on this surface. There we go. Tuck that tab in, line it up, and hold. Okay, just like last time. I've got a nice gap there. I'm going to fix that real quick. Not a fan of that gap. It's very, very subtle gap. Clean that up. Okay. And we're going to close this up on this side. Get our glue out to the edge, nice and thin. Okay, tuck these tabs in, bring it all the way down. It helps to bring this tab up a little bit so it's not completely flush with the top, so that as you push down, this lid, we'll call it, grabs more of that surface area. And then just keep holding that down. Okay, and then we'll grab our scrap and pop that right in between these two layers. And just spread a little bit of glue right on there. Wipe off the excess, and then just press that right into place and hold. Got that side now, and now this side. Just throw a little bit of glue right on the edge of your tab. Paint that in there. And then close it up. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. All right, so as I mentioned, going to ink this one as well. And we'll do that in a little bit here. In the meantime, let's get our numbers, okay? Because we need to, I'm gonna do this. Okay, let's do this. We're gonna separate these. You're gonna have a 1 on 1. Okay, I'm just gonna lay these out for you so there's no confusion. This is gonna be one of the cubes, this is gonna be another cube, okay? So we've got a 1, and then you need to find an 8, put it on that side, and a 5 to put on that side. Okay, and then we'll do a 9 on this side, a 3 on this side, and then a 7 on this side, and a 4 on this side. Okay, and then we're going to do a 0 and a 2 on this side, which leaves a 2 and a 0 on this side. Okay, just like that. It doesn't really matter which side of the cube you put this on. Let me move this up because I can see here that I don't have them all on screen. Okay, there we go. So if we do this numerically, just to make it easier on you, 7, 8, 9, 1, here we go, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, okay? And you're like, well, where's the 6? Well, this is the 6 because you just do this. You flip it around. So anyway, what we need to do here now is take, and you're gonna need 6 for each one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna put these on top of these, like so, and try to maintain a nice little even border all the way around. So we have a total of 12 of these to do. Make sure you kind of keep them where they need to be so that we know where each one needs to go. And we'll get that done. It'll take a few minutes. Go easy on the glue here. I have to go even easier on the glue here and be kind of strategic about it because I'm going onto a gold foil. I don't want to blemish this gold foil. Okay, again, do your best to get that as centered as possible so you have an even border all the way around. Take your time. There we go. Press that down. It looks pretty good. And there's our 0. I'll go to the 1 and move on, so on and so forth. So we were kind of hoping, excuse me, kind of hoping that Peyton would be walking by now, just to kind of surprise everybody that comes to the party. But he has taken, I think at one point he took about, I don't know, I think like 7 steps. But lately when we try to encourage him to walk, he knows what we're trying to do, and he just sits down on his butt and he's like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. So I think it's just a matter of him wanting to do it. He gets around so quick crawling right now that he's like, why should I walk? It's kind of slow, but I'm sure he'll get there. Talking up a storm. I think he's doing really well. I think he's doing really well. So we had Liesel's sister had a birthday the other day, and he had obviously we sang happy birthday and there was a cake, and he was so enamored by the candles and everyone singing. He's going to be surprised when we do that for him. But anyway, it's been really fun. This green pattern, by the way, I did hit it with a little bit of a brown ink. I tried green on it, but obviously didn't show up very well because it's a rather dark color. So I went with like a brown color just to kind of muddy up the corners, the edges a little bit. Again, just so that it works better with the cube, which I knew I was going to ink as well. Actually, there's a lot of ink on this project, and I'll mention and talk about what colors I used where and why when we encounter them. Okay. Just trying to keep that nice and straight and centered. But that's a beautiful combination there, the gold with the green, and there's a little holly on it. It looks beautiful, nice and festive. And we got that little splash of red on the cube. It's gonna look darling. And you can just see this sort of mixed in with your existing decor in your home, your garland, your wreaths, your little Christmas trees, candles. And that one is slightly off. There we go. Okay, so there's 6, not bad at all. And we'll move on here. So I've been a little quiet this week on Facebook and not making reels and call them TikToks, whatever you want to call them. I've just been trying to get things ready for everyone that's coming over this weekend. As you can imagine, for you guys that have been moms or are still moms, it's kind of hard to get anything done when you've got a toddler just running around the house all day trying to get in trouble. So I kind of had to put some things on pause as far as work goes to, well, just do some things around the house that I haven't had a chance to do in quite some time, just because things have been crazy. Okay, getting there. I'm really excited to see how this pans out once it's all done. I'm sure it's going to look great. You know, I saw a post in our Facebook group the other day. And I apologize that I don't remember the name of the dreamer that posted it, but I love that she somehow found words of wisdom in my videos. I never really thought about how crafting applies to life. I guess I did. I just never really thought of myself as an inspirational, what's that guy's name? You know, that tall, handsome guy. It's like a motivational speaker. I'm the one always seeking that stuff, so to be thought of as in a position where I'm actually, you know, on the other end of it was very nice. And I probably should listen to my own advice more often. You know, not just do as I say, not as I do sort of thing. Because we're all flawed. We're human. And, you know, I guess the goal is just to hope one day you get it all figured out. But I don't think you ever will. I don't think you'll ever figure it all out. It's okay. Just have to come to terms with that. All right, so last one. It didn't take too long. And I really like this font that we picked out. Very classic. I know at first glance it seems like, you know, maybe the numbers are kind of hard to read, but I don't think they are. I think they look very, very classic. Okay, let me get this inked so that we can start applying the numbers. I really want that Santa to really dry completely, because again, it is sort of a tall structure, and paper can have a tendency to, you know, fall victim to gravity. But I think with what we did, I think it should be fine, especially if you allow it to dry completely flat. Let that glue harden before any effects of gravity can be, you know, it can feel any of those effects. I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to, on this one, I'm just going to ink a few sides, and then we can get going with the placement of the numbers, which again is pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need to do it in any specific order. You really don't, because only one side is going to be, you know, facing you at any given time, and you can flip it around any direction you need to. Okay. So I think for my sake, that's going to be where I put the 2, and then maybe we'll just do some adjacent sides here and then just move on. Okay, well, I sort of wish that I would have paid attention to the color that I was using here, and I had actually didn't even realize how many different purples I have in Memento. I've got grape jelly, I have elderberry, which I think is a little bit darker. I'm not, actually, you know what, I don't know if that will even show up darker on the red. I might just try it. Where the heck did it go? There it is. Let's try this. Maybe it'll speed things up a little bit. So you can see the tone. It's a little bit darker. Oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of coverage on that one. That's okay. Like I said, it might speed things up for me. Yeah, and it is. There we go. Just want to be careful if you ever kind of switch gears in the middle. Not only is this a darker color, but the ink pad is a lot more fresh, which means that I don't have to push down as hard to get as much ink on there. So if I really push down real hard on this and then give it the same amount of pressure, it's going to come out real deep. And I want to just try to keep things consistent. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more sides here, and then we'll get onto installing our numbers. And then the rest of it is really just you know, a little base for the numbers to sit on, which is essentially a box. It's got a little bit of an inset on it, which we've engineered to be pretty easy to assemble. And I'll show you, obviously, how that works. And then once we're done with that, we just take the Santa over there that's been drying underneath my mat on top of a stack of 12 by 12 paper stacks. And yeah, I'll just call it a day. So it'll be a pretty quick little project. And again, great little gift for a child or a little piece of decor for your home that you can say, hey, I made that, and enjoy it every day up to Christmas morning. Okay. Looking sharp. All right, cool. So let me put this aside, get it out of the way so we don't accidentally bump into it. All right, so as I mentioned, doesn't really matter how you put the numbers on. You'll notice there's a series of little score marks on the red cubes, and that's to help you get this placed so everything looks nice and symmetrical. Go easy with the glue here, and don't worry about which direction, because again, you can always just flip it around as necessary. Just make sure that you get that nice and centered, and use those little markers as your guide. Press that down, and you can see how awesome that looks. Okay. And of course, with this glitter paper, I need to be a little bit more patient getting these numbers on there. So again, I may do this off camera, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do it. You're just going to put these numbers on one cube, these numbers on the other cube. It doesn't matter where you place them, because like I said, you can always flip it around. And like for example here, I can put the 5 like this, or you can put it like this. It doesn't matter, because ultimately you can flip the cube. You only need to display one number at a time, but you do need to make sure that these 5 or 6 go on one cube and these 6 go on the other cube, which the orientation does not matter. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this until my camera asks me to hit record again, which is every 20 minutes. I have to get up and hit record again. So we'll just kind of keep on going here. And if there's any additional little tidbits that I can offer you while I'm doing this process, I will. But otherwise, I think at this point, you can at this point, if you want to, just pause, do this on your own time. And then the next thing we're going to do, when you see me grab for this, that's when you know that I'm on to the next step. Okay. All right. And I am also trying to get some glue out to the very edges of these. If you want, I don't think it's necessary, but if you want, you can take and kind of spread that glue out to the very edge with your fingers or with a brush or whatever it is that you typically use to spread things out. That looks great. And I don't know, maybe you can use this to play some kind of a Christmas dice game too. I mean, it is a die, essentially. That looks really cool. Now this pattern, I don't know where it's from, but it sure reminds me of a Graphic 45 pattern. So this would be a great time to get those papers out. I wonder, I haven't been following Graphic 45 as much as I used to. I hope they're doing well. I always love their papers. Super detailed and whimsical, elegant, all at the same time. I'm friends with one of Diane's daughters on Facebook, and she's always climbing giant mountains. Scary stuff. Kudos to her for being so brave. I don't even like to drive on the highway. Yep, very happy with how this is turning out. This is looking great. Classic Christmas colors. Okay, so my camera here is winding down to that 20-minute mark. So I'm gonna finish this up, and then I will meet you at the next step, which is assembling the main box that holds the cube. Okay, so how'd it go? Get your cubes all done, looking good. You can see here, I tested this out obviously, but let's see here, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. So for the 19, you have to go 1 and then find the 6 and make it a 19, 18, 17, 16. You get the idea. All right, so those are done. Let's take a look at the main structure here, the main box. Okay, and that's this little guy here. What we're gonna do is just begin by applying glue to one of these tabs, doesn't matter which one. I'll get that on there. And then bring this in. We're gonna have panels on top of all this, so if you want to make a mess, now would be the time. Okay, I don't recommend it, but you can certainly do so. Okay, we'll go over here, get this next tab glued down. Spread that glue out nice and thin, nice and even. Bring this wall up and press down. There we go. Okay, and moving right along. Okay. I did not get enough glue on that little guy there. Let's see how it's pulling apart. I'm going to redo that. It went a little too thin. There we go, much better. Okay. Tuck that in, line it up, and press and hold. There we go. Rub that off. Okay, and the last tab here. Okay, tuck that in. Okay, so we have the main structure kind of put together here. We're going to grab this piece, we're going to anchor it to one side. Okay. Go a little bit heavier on the glue here. Spread that glue out. This is going to be the bottom. Okay, just like that. Grab this piece here, get it right out to the very edge and nice and centered. And press that down into place, just like that. And then just kind of run your finger along the seam here. You give that a little bit of a nudge back. There we go. Looks good. Then you can drop it down, press down on the rest of that tab. Get it nice and secure. There we go. Okay. It looks good. And now, let's move this out of the way briefly, bring these tabs up just a tad, and we'll apply our glue here and here and here, all three tabs. We're going to close this up. Now, if you want, and I may do this, because I want this to be nice and sturdy, before we put that little inset piece into that little hole there, you can fill this with something to weigh this down a little bit so it's not so top heavy, okay? So go ahead and close this. Focus on getting it aligned with this side here. Bring this all the way out to the very edge, okay? And then press that down. And if you need to kind of nudge these walls in a little tad, press that down. And just keep running your fingers along the perimeter here. And the cool thing is too, since it's open, you can push down on the tabs from the inside to help these really stick. Okay, I'm going to keep looking at the seams down here, just to make sure everything is nice and solid. Okay, so again, if there's some sort of fill that you want to add, you can do so at this point. Now here is this little piece, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to take these little tabs, these little triangular tabs. These are going to get glued behind this structure here, because what we're going to do is we're going to set this inside, like so. Okay, and the only thing that's going to be visible is this and these edges here. And you know what? Now that I noticed, I'm glad I noticed this now. I need to ink this is a white core paper. And anytime you use perforated score marks on a white core, you're going to see the white show through, and I don't really like how that looks. So I'm just going to take a little bit of ink, and I'm going to kind of cover up that little white that's showing. You know, that actually probably won't even be that visible because the blocks will be there, but when you take them out, even if just for a second, you probably will see it, and I don't want that. Let me see if it'll notice it. Yeah, you know what? You probably won't even notice it, so never mind. But always good to kind of be aware of that. Okay, so anyway, we're going to put glue on these little triangular tabs, very small. We're going to tuck them behind the neighboring layer, or the neighboring wall, and press and hold. Okay, it's basically making like a tiny little tray, I guess you can call it. Okay, make sure that Make sure that really gets a good hold before you let it go. You can fold that in a little bit more. I'm going to fold this way just to train it and get it ready to go that direction. Okay. And holding that one in place. Don't worry about this pattern. You're not going to see it. But you just want to make sure that you get this nice and strong. Okay. There we go. A couple more to go. Let me train this one in a little bit. Just a few little dots of glue. Don't go overboard here. And press that down against the outside. There we go. Just hold that. This wall here and the one that I'm holding down at the bottom, when they meet, should create a 90-degree angle. So it's essentially like an inverted box. Here we go. And that just leaves one more right here. Apply that glue. Tuck it behind, up against the inside. Oh, hold on, there we go. There we go. Okay. Looking good. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and pop it inside of this little cutout. Just kind of give it a little push. Okay, and then you can take and just bring up one of these tabs. Don't need to worry about getting glue on the whole thing. Just a little bit. Then go ahead and push it down and let that set. Make sure it's nice and centered. And just maintain that pressure there. Again, if you wanted to put something in there, that would have been the time. Just to kind of weigh this down. I think it's going to be okay, but you know, the blocks are going to counteract that. And plus, it's got a wide enough base where it should be okay. But you know, it's up to you. Okay. And we're going to go on the other side here, put a little bit of glue on that tab, and then push and hold that down, let that set. And actually, while that's setting, you can go over to this side, apply your glue here, and hold that down. And that just leaves one more side. And then we're going to finish this thing up by putting a few panels in place. Here we go. Bring that down. And I am seeing a little bit of that white that I talked about right there, but that's okay. It's not too late to get some ink going on this. Probably would have been better to do it beforehand, but honestly, now that it's exactly where it needs to be, we don't have to worry about, sometimes if you ink something and you have it folded in a certain way, when you unfold it, more of the white ends up showing through, and then you have to ink it again anyway. So it's almost better to have it in its final position and then give it a hit of some ink just to kind of cover up that white. And that seems to be doing the trick. Now, either way, actually, when you put these in, you're not even going to see it anyway. So it's not the end of the world, but you know. I have a friend of mine that always told me, and actually I think this is Mother Teresa. I guess in a nutshell, I realized that, you know, whoever you give this to may not even notice these little details. Wouldn't even know if they were right or wrong, but it really is up to you. You know what you can do better, and at the end of the day, it's between you and God, not so much anybody else. So always do your best is what I'm trying to say. Okay, all right, so next we're going to take this and we're going to cover this up. So you can see just that one little section is showing through, okay? And I'm gonna actually apply glue to this structure And we do need to get glue around the perimeter. Then also along the inside. And I'm going to take my time here and make sure that I get good coverage all the way around. I might need to go in and do a little bit of painting on this. See that? I'm just going in. I need that to be, that's all going to be covered up too. So like I said, if you want to make a mess, now's your chance. And I took advantage of that. Okay, so this is just going to go right on top. It's going to cover up those little tabs to make everything uniform. And then we're going to have panels that are going to go on top of this. Okay. Just press that down all the way around. And just make sure that it's making good contact. We might have to go through and just kind of clean up these seams a little bit, as kind of dealing with a little bit of an uneven surface here, but that's okay. It'll be fine. Just do your best. Just make sure those edges look nice and clean. There we go. And I'm going to go around. Just take a look at everything here. Got a little bit of section here in the corner that is not completely flat. I'll grab my scrap, tuck it right in between those two layers, and just press and hold that down. A little extra love. Okay. There we go. And it's mostly because we have those tabs there. And those tabs kind of create a little bit of an uneven section, but that's okay. As long as we add a little bit of extra glue right out to the very edge, we can get that to sit nice and pretty. And no harm, no foul. It'll look great. Okay. There we go. See that little gap that I had there. And just press that down. There we go. Okay. I've got a little section in the back here that I want to clean up a little bit more too. There we go. Okay. Looking good. Now again, we've got some overlays that are going to go on top of this as well. It's going to polish everything up, make everything look nice. Okay, but that's fine for now. Okay, so again, this is going to go on top like this, and then you can see how nice and polished that makes everything look. Okay, so we can do this now. And I'm going to go a little bit easier on the glue here. This paper, I think, is a little bit thinner than your standard cardstock. Okay, so I don't want to warp the paper, but at the same time, I want to make sure that everything sits nice and flush. Might require a little bit of that painting method. We'll see. Hopefully not, but I am going thinner on the glue here. Nice line. This is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way you put it down. Get that nice and centered. Beautiful. And press that down, especially along the edges. Keep everything looking nice and flush. There we go. Yeah. Now we're talking. Okay, and I'm going to hit the edge of this with a little bit of ink, get that nice and blended. I already did. I already actually inked all this, but I don't mind going a little bit deeper. It's like a nice walnut. There we go. Okay, check your seams, make sure everything's sitting nice and flat. Mine's looking pretty good. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a couple things here. Okay, and continuing on this little painting method here, if there are little sections inside that maybe aren't making full contact, just go ahead and add a little bit of glue and just press that down and hold it in those little areas that might need that little extra attention. Okay, but for the front, got this piece here, just a solid piece. That's going to be your back layer. And we have this piece here. We're going to glue on top of that solid wood layer. Go easy with the glue here. Nice and easy. I wouldn't worry about trying to get glue in between the little details here on this guy. That right there, he'll stay in place. I'm not worried about it. Okay, but just pop that right on there. Try not to move it around too much. Make sure you get it right the first time. There we go. Press that down. And now before we put this in, make sure you have it the right way. As you can see, this little cutout here is for the center of the D and the A. So you don't want it like this because that's just going to look weird. Okay, you have to make sure that you have it in the correct orientation. I want that to be nice and flat. Okay, and we're going to flip this over and apply glue to the back of this. And there's going to be some little spots here where we probably do need to put a little bit of glue just to make sure that the letters don't come or don't get ripped during the process. So just find these little details, throw a little dot of glue on these little areas that are kind of hanging, and then before we do anything else, just take and kind of flatten that out with your finger so that as we apply this on here, we don't get glue shooting all over the place. Okay, just match that up like so, and there you have it. And there's your caption, rather than trying to glue down every single letter manually. We've got this little method here. And now because we have some white in there, if you want to take and just kind of run some ink along that white, and a little bit of that showing is actually not that bad because it's going to look like it almost has a little bevel effect. So I'm not overly concerned about it too much, but I'm going to blend it a little bit so it's not so white. Okay, especially at the top. You're not really going to see the bottom, so I just do the top and the sides. Okay, there we go. All right, so next, what we're going to do, we're going to take these two pieces, and these are going to get glued right onto the sides here, like so. Okay, we want to make sure that they're nice and flush with the top, and we want them to be nice and centered. You want these two edges to meet. Okay, so I'm actually going to put glue on the surface here. You can get a little crazy at the bottom, but be careful at the top not to encroach onto that surface there. And just pop that right on the side, nice and centered. And flush with the top. You want to make it look as seamless as possible right at that top. And it should also end up being flush with the bottom. Okay, just press that down and hold it. Like so. That looks great. And then if you want, while you're kind of holding it in place, you can blend those two seams together even more with a little bit of ink. Make it look nice and seamless. Obviously wait until you're sure that it's fully set. And I don't mind going a little bit heavier on this. This is supposed to, well, at least mine, I want it to look kind of vintagey, a little rustic. Okay, that looks great. Then we'll go to the other side, do the same thing. Apply that piece. Just be careful up top. Get that nice and centered. Flush with the top, flush with the bottom. Nice and centered. Take a look at that seam on top. Looks good. Hold that down. And while we're doing that, let's blend that in nicely with your ink. Make sure that that is sitting flush, and it is. Looks good. It's almost like we're sanding it a little bit. Awesome. Okay. That looks solid. All right, so now pick the side that looks the best. I'm going to put this on here and just take a look. That looks pretty good. Yeah. All right, that's going to be my front. Just like we did with the two sides. Apply your glue, be careful there. Spread that out. Sides and the bottom. And then I'm going to be just going to leave that alone. I can always paint that with some additional glue if necessary. Get that right on there, nice and centered, flush with the top, flush with the sides, and hold that down. Just apply a nice, consistent amount of pressure. Don't crush the box, obviously. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to hit this with a little bit of ink along the sides. Get rid of that little bit of white that's showing. And that little bit that's showing is not horrible. There we go. And I'm going to paint a little bit of glue here. Not sitting as flush as I would like it. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And as I mentioned, doesn't hurt to hit that with a little bit of ink, blend it in more. Okay. I've got this other corner here that I'm going to add a little bit more glue to because I want that to be sitting super flat. So everything looks, like I said, like a nice block, solid block of wood. There we go. Okay, looks awesome. Okay, let's put our little blocks in here. That looks awesome. Okay, let's grab Santa, who's been sitting underneath a mat here for a little bit, and see how he dried. Nice and solid, nice and flat, as you can see. Looks good. All right, so I'm gonna get his little facial features here. Now, one thing I just noticed is this little section here, it's not really sitting completely flat, so I'll take a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper and just kind of tuck it under, just press it, and then really press it into place so that sits nice and flat. And don't worry if a little glue squirted out there because we're going to be covering that up anyway. Okay, that looks good. All right, so facial features here. We've got some eyebrows, obviously, and those are going to go in like a little puzzle piece. And I don't think that I'm going to ink the white. I did ink the glitter with a little bit of turquoise, but I think I'm going to leave his eyebrows just pure white. I'm not going to mess with that. Okay, so that's going to go in like this, like a little puzzle. Just pop that in there. There we go. Grab his other one. Tiny little bit of glue there, don't need a lot. And pop that one in there. Just like a little puzzle. Press and hold. Okay, next, we gotta build his eyes. Okay, and you're gonna go like this. There's gonna be a little bit, actually this is gonna be pretty centered, so that light brown kind of there's like a little bit of a border of this color around that white. Okay, so it's kind of like a bean shape, I guess you could call it. Okay, and again, pop that right in the center so that you have an even border, as much of an even border as you can achieve right there. Do the same thing on the other side. And there are a series of little markers on this white piece, and that's to help you with the positioning of the blue. And then we'll put the black on there. Here we go. And of course, oh, there he is. Okay, the little dots here, just before you glue it down, just make sure you have the right piece for the correct eye. Okay, so that's going to go like that. And then just put that right between the little markers to help you with the positioning. And make sure everything looks good. That looks right. Okay, so let's flip this over. Just a few little dots of glue here. You don't need a lot. Pardon my head. It's one of the few times where I really got to get in there. Make sure that I'm getting it lined up correctly, otherwise Santa's going to look kind of weird. I don't want that. There we go. Santa's got a Frank Sinatra thing going on with his eyes here. I like it. Nice color. There we go. Okay, and then we've got the little black parts here, and these are identical. Just one little dot of glue, or a couple little dots on the back of this. We'll keep it in place. Just match it up with the little circle there, like that. And let me just make sure that that looks okay. Yep, that looks good. We'll get this last little piece in place, like so. There we go. Okay, Santa. Looking good, Santa. All right, we also have a mouth that we need to put in, and that's just gonna go right in here, up as high as it'll go, so that just a little bit of that pink or that brown, well, the skin tone, I guess you could say, is showing through at the bottom. So just pop that in, push it up. Okay, and then we have his little tongue. And the smooth, straight part is going to be at the bottom, like so. Just like that. Here, Santa. All right, Santa, looking good. Looking good, dude. Okay, so this piece and this piece, as well as this piece, are all going to be glued together. His mustache is going to go on next, right here, like so. And I do want to give his mustache a little bit of extra dimension. So I'm going to take and place the center here on one side between my finger and the dowel, lift this up about 90 degrees, and just run the dowel through, and you can see how it gives it a little bit of a curve. And we're just going to glue down just this part right here, just kind of the center. Okay, just right about here. Let the rest of it kind of float freely. Just glue that down. Okay, and now again, we're going glitter on glitter. So with me here doing this, I need to let this sit for a few moments so that it doesn't come undone. Got to let those two sections bind. If you are doing the same as I am and having a hard time, you might want to just get out the hot glue. You can see that that does not want to stay. It will. you just have to pop it into place and really hold it. Sometimes it helps to go a little bit thicker with the glue too. Okay, just hold that down. I'm going to need to be patient. That, or I can put something on it, something heavy, and let that do all the work while that'll be okay. I'll put that off to the side for a second. In the meantime, let's put his little hat together. We're going to put this layer down first, the layer with the pom-pom. I did ink this with a turquoise, and I only, on this section here, only inked the pom-pom. Okay, we did this to give this piece a little added dimension. On the red, I inked that with a darker red or purple. Probably went with a, actually, looks like I did with a red. You could go with purple though. Okay, so that's going to go on there, like so. And then, of course, I've got, let's see, did we do, well, that went on flat. So I've got another glitter on glitter area here. So I'm going to need to be patient with this. And we're actually going to take this and foam square this onto Santa's head once we get everything assembled. So this is going to be, once I get this in place, what I think I'm going to do is actually put this underneath my mat and let the mat do the work. There we go. Give that a second. I'm going to slide this right under my mat very carefully and let that dry. Okay, so the last step here, we do have, this is a little embellishment for his hat, but what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue to this, and that's going to get glued right to the back, like so. Okay, and this again, well, it's glitter going onto actual cardstock, so we might be okay. If you want to use hot glue for this, feel free. I'm going to go a little bit heavier with the glue on this. Okay, spread that out relatively thin. I went pretty heavy here. Okay, and I'm going to take my Santa here, use my surface to kind of guide me. Get that on there, nice and centered, nice and flush, and then I put this down to my surface and press down. And I'm going to let this, let gravity kind of do its thing. And do not pull this up. I would let this sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, so let's wait for this to really cure, and then we'll put the finishing touches on Santa. That looks good. We'll put the finishing touches on Santa and wrap this one up. In the meantime, let's put that off to the side, let gravity do its thing. And well, we've got a little snowflake. There's a gold foil there. Let me clean this off. This is getting messy. We've got a white snowflake that's going onto a gold shadow layer. So just threw a few little dots on the tips of these snowflakes, on the tips of the points of the snowflake. And we're going to get that nice and centered on our gold shadow. Careful. There we go. Flip that over, press it down. That looks great. Okay. Now on these, on this holly here, you'll notice there's a score mark right down the center. You can take and kind of pinch this right up to the tip. This is a green foil that I'm using, so I don't want to overdo it because it might look a little funky. But I'm going to grab some foam squares here. I'll put one foam square in the center of this. This is going to get attached to his hat. I'm going to take our little snowflake and just pop that right in the center, like so. There we go. Okay, so very important. Give it about 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes with this sitting like this, and let that really cure. It's very important because this is kind of top heavy, but as you can see, after about 10 minutes, it's nice and solid. The cubes fit in there perfectly, and the finishing touch here is putting his little hat on, which we're going to actually do with some foam squares. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and let's get some foam squares on here. Add a little bit of dimension to this project. Just spread these out nice and even throughout the hat. That should do it. You could do a few more if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. Okay, I'm just going to match this up with the existing shadow layer here. So I might need to bring this up a tad so I can see it properly. There we go. No, not quite. There we go. Okay, there we go. And then of course, the little cherry on top here, give him a nice little embellishment on his hat. You can put that on with a foam square as well. And I'd have one of the points kind of coming in like this. And press that down. You want to put a little rhinestone or something right there. That's fine. Again, and there you have the end result. I don't have the numbers set properly, but you can see how cool and festive that looks. So it's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please visit us on our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new project, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I'd love to see it. And so would the rest of our community, and so does that person. So head over to your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where you'll find myself and over 40,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So I hope you had a blast, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where you'll find over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly tutorials. I'll see you in the craft room.